Hello. In prior videos, I talked about saving information from web pages to Gmail, similar to how the old save to inbox capability used to work, except this is actually a little bit better by using this web clipper tool from Cloud HQ, which you can get if you don't have it yet as an extension to Chrome on www.gmail-web-clipper.com. So if you go to the website, you can see right there that you can look at the little video how it works. You can also install it right there on your Chrome, and then you can use it. It looks like a little envelope here that you can use to take any web page and save it to Gmail. So I showed how you can actually use then Gmail's capabilities of snoozing to be able to get back to that page through Gmail, because it becomes just a regular email, and then you can easily have it remind you to look at that web page at a different time. Something you can't normally do with web pages, but you can do equivalent by sticking it first to Gmail. So that works really well, and pretty simple and so on. So I wanted to expand on that a little bit today, and I wanted to talk about just kind of had an epiphany when I was doing those videos and thinking about this capability. On one hand, it's very simple, and it is very simple to implement and install, but at the same time, it definitely can have some additional uses and fairly far-reaching capabilities if you really stop and think about it. So the first thing you do is, like I said, if you don't have it installed yet, go ahead and go to gmail-web-clipper.com and install this little extension in your Chrome browser, and then you can follow me do what I'm doing. So I'm going to make myself a little bit scarce here, make myself smaller, move myself out of the way, and yeah, let's just start with this. Okay, so one of the things that we can do is jump to a page, like this page here, for example, and let's say that I wanted to go ahead and save it to Gmail. So I would click on the little Gmail Web Clipper extension. It would immediately go and make the page be a little bit more readable by eliminating some of the elements that are not that important, like ads and things like that, and then still keeping some graphics, as you can see. And then you see the link to the actual article, so you don't lose that. And then you got the capture date and time, and you just click on Save to Gmail, and that's all it takes. It saves it to Gmail and says you can view it in Gmail. So if we click on View in Gmail, you can see it comes up right there with, move myself out of the way again, it comes up with this email. It looks like this, very readable and great. And notice that it also puts in a label on it called app Gmail Web Clipper. So it's very easy to find these emails by simply clicking on the label, and then you can find them that way. Okay. Additionally, what you can do is you can actually emulate bookmarks right in your Gmail too. So for those people who are just married to their email and do pretty much everything in email, many of us do. And for business purposes, it's extremely handy to be able to live in this kind of singular environment where you can pretty much do everything you need in terms of communicating with others, and also be able to collaborate in other ways, because you can make phone calls, you can initiate chats, everything directly from Gmail interface itself, which is very handy and very convenient. And so with this capability here, you're able to put web pages into your Gmail as well, and then obviously be able to find them relatively easily and then deal with them accordingly. So if you're going to have this single place environment, then if you're not a big fan of like bookmarks, like I have here in this bookmarks bar, there's nothing wrong with bookmarks bar. I actually love my bookmarks bar. The problem is that it really gets cluttered very quickly. So if you look here, you can see I have some of my main to-go-to apps up here. Just most of them are little icons, no text, to compress the room, to have more room. And then here I have some other things. And then if you click on the little Sharon size here, Sharon icon, I should say, you can see that I have a lot more folders and I have a lot more bookmarks, and it just becomes very, very difficult to manage this way. And then you have to potentially go to another service for bookmarks and deal with that, but then you're getting away from Gmail. So if you want, it's not mandatory, but if you want, if you're trying to keep everything kind of a Gmail, you can actually mimic your bookmarks in Gmail here by using the same capability here. Since we're putting emails here and it automatically creates this label called Gmail Web Clipper, we could potentially create a whole structure of bookmarks underneath it for web pages. So for example, let's say I go to, well, we already saved this one, so I'm not going to do it there, but let's say I'm going to take this one as an example, and let's say I wanted to save that. So we click on the little extension here, and there's the article there. I'm going to save it to Gmail, and then I'm going to view it in Gmail, and then here I'm going to do something different. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to assign it a different label. So I'm going to go label, and I'm going to say I'm going to call it label called, this is what Vue.js, so I'm going to call it Vue.js, and I'm going to create a new one, but when I create it, it says, do I want to nest it under a different label? And the answer is yes. So I can use my Gmail Web Clipper as the parent label and store in there everything that's not categorized or non-bookmarked, just basically saving it. But then underneath it, I can create another one called Vue.js. And so as you can see right here, I have a label called Gmail Web Clipper. And if I click on the little triangle next to it to open it up, because it's got some sub-items, you can see I have my Vue.js right there. And we can obviously make changes to the color. Let's change the color to be something like this, so it really stands out for both label and its sublabels, I should say. And now we have a kind of unique looking color there. So now, as you can see, we can easily have it closed, or we can open it up, and then any different sublabels that I have underneath it, or think of it as bookmarks categories. These would be like bookmarks folders, basically. On bookmarks toolbar, you usually have folders and you have items. Think of this as a folder right there. And I have this thing in Vue.js. The reason you might want to do this, there's multiple reasons. Number one, you can just move your entire structure of bookmarks to be available within your Gmail. Because if I want to get to this, if I click on this, it'll show me all the emails having to do with Vue.js. I click on the email itself, there's the email, and I can just simply go to the web page by clicking on the link at the top if I don't want to read it directly in Gmail. Okay, if I did want to read it directly in Gmail, there it is. Okay, not a problem. Okay, so that's why it's a very handy solution from that standpoint, because you're able to have all these different emails here related to this particular subject or bookmark, if you will, and you're keeping everything within Gmail structure. And the question will be, why would you want to do this? I mean, we already have bookmarks bar, we already have all these other bookmarks utilities. Why would you want to stick it in Gmail? So being in a single place is helpful, because you don't have to keep jumping in and out. But there's a bigger reason, and the epiphany that I had is coming here, why I'm telling you all this. It will become understandable shortly here. So if I wanted to, so the second reason why I want to do it is look at this top bar on my browser here. You see how many different bookmarks I have? Not bookmarks, I should say, different tabs I have open right now. I got a ton of them. And the reason is, I think a lot of people have very similar situations because they open up their whatever web page they're looking at, and then they don't have time to look at it right now. Okay? So if they don't have time to look at it right now, but they do want to look at it later, they just leave it open. That's what I do too. I mean, that's why I have so many tabs open over there, is because over time, it ends up being, yesterday I saw this particular page at school, but hey, I need to run, do something with the kids, so I leave it open, so I'll get to it later. And this later deal winds up with having, a few tabs open. Now you have dozens of tabs open at the same time. Is it a problem? To a degree it is, because number one, every tab that's open is using up memory. So if you don't have the greatest of computers with a ton of memory in it, then it's going to definitely create a problem in terms of not having enough RAM, number one. It's certainly going to decrease performance of your computer if you have all these tabs open. It'll decrease the performance of the Chrome browser itself too. So it's not a great idea to have tons of tabs open just because you can. Okay, so this allows me to go back to, now that I have it saved, it allows me to go here to the article that I saved. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. And I can actually simply close this tab. So as I go and save more and more tabs like this, I can eliminate most of them. And now I have a nice structure because, the FOMO is non-existent anymore because I'll have all here. Over here, for example, I have something about HTML. Yeah, let's save that too. So I'm going to go ahead and save it to Gmail. And you can see I'm doing it in real time, so you can see how long it takes to do it. And then I go to view it in Gmail. And then I hit the L key to assign a label. And I'm going to call it, let's call it HTML. HTML-CSS. And I'm going to create a new label, and I'm going to stick it under the Gmail Web Clipper and create. And now I have another bookmark folder there. So now we have HTML, CSS, and we have Vue.js. Okay, we got two of them. Okay, so if we wanted to save another page, for example, let's go back to my tabs here, and I have this particular page here. Let's say I wanted to save this. In some areas or some cases, it doesn't work. The web clipper doesn't work. And I'm going to mention it to the company and see, I don't know if it's a bug or just some pages they can't save. So if I click on the clipper, you see it doesn't come up with anything. It can't save it. So in some cases, you're out of luck, basically. You have to do something else. Okay? And of course, most pages you can. So like if I go to this page here, and this looks like something I want to save, I would click on it and save to Gmail. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into Gmail. I'm going to change its label to be, let's go with Flask, and create a new label under Web Clipper and create. And that's it. So now I got it saved. So now I have that particular page saved. I can go ahead and close it. And now we have another one here. So if I want to save that one, click social media, save to Gmail, and view in Gmail, and label, and call it social media. And we're going to create a new one. Same process exactly. So I'm not going to do all of these things because I'm sure you get the idea how it works and what it does. But the idea being that you now have, under this one Gmail Web Clipper label, you now have all these pages that got saved, number one. Number two, if you look at certain subcategories, you can see that all the emails you save under that category will go easily accessible by clicking on that particular label underneath the main structure. And if you want, you can set up a label called bookmarks. It doesn't have to be called Gmail Web Clipper. And under bookmarks, you save, or web bookmarks, whatever you want to call it. And then underneath there, you save these other categories that will be of use to you. And so that way, you can easily see you have your send, drafts, trash, and then you have the categories, and then you have your bookmarks, for example. The reason the Gmail Web Clipper comes up as the next thing, I have a ton of labels, as you can see. I got a bunch of them. The reason it comes up like that is because it's got an exclamation point, so it sorts it at the top of all the labels. So you can call it exclamation point bookmarks, and then it'll also sort that particular one at the top. So that's just for purposes of finding it easily. But you can see you can get to it, and pretty slick how it works, and you can get to all these emails that have that particular label. Okay. One other thing to remember is that if you want, you can actually get, if you wanted to have a bookmark, for example, for all your Gmail Web Clippers on your bookmarks bar, if you have plenty of room, because you pretty much keep everything in Gmail, you can do that too to make it easier. For example, I can take this particular search here. As you can see, it just created the search called Gmail Web Clipper. And since I'm sitting here, I can just create a bookmark from this particular URL. and I'm going to call it Gmail bookmarks, right? And so this is just one link to all your Gmail bookmarks. So if you happen to be sitting on a totally different page, it doesn't matter. Go to google.com. I don't care where it is. Let's say you're sitting on a totally different page, and now you want to get back to all your bookmarks within Gmail. You just need this one link, basically. Click on it, and it's going to go ahead and open up Gmail for you, as you can see right there. And then it's going to have all bookmarks you stored here. It will immediately pull them up. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to actually set up a folder here instead of the let's delete that bookmark and set up a folder like this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and say, add a folder, and we'll call it Gmail bookmarks, right? And so there is the folder, nothing in it. So I can take this particular URL, stick it there as the first thing, okay? By just dragging it in there. And so now I have it there, and we can right click and rename it to be top level bookmarks, category, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so it's the top level. And then underneath that, of course, if you want, you can actually have some of the main ones you want to do something with, like, let's say I care about HTML, CSS. So if I click on HTML, CSS, it's going to give me all the emails, and now I have the URL I need to save for HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it as the next one, and I'm going to rename it to be HTML and CSS, for example. And we'll do one more for social media. Let's say click on social media, then drag the URL for it here to this particular bookmark folder, and rename it to be social media. Okay, so now I have this one, it doesn't need that much space, just a little bit here. Little folder like that, and I got all these different bookmarks within it. So I can go to all my social media emails. I can go to HTML and CSS emails. So it's very easily done, no matter where I'm sitting. You could say, well, you can just go to Gmail, you can click on them. I can't, right? I can't. But if you're sitting at a different page, if you're sitting on some other website, for example, okay, and if you're sitting there, then I'll put myself right next to Nancy here. How's that? If you're sitting on a different website and then all of a sudden you need to pull up your social media bookmarks from Gmail, you just click on the folder and go to social media, and within a couple of seconds, it'll come right up like this. And there it is. There's my social media. It happens to be this one article right now. So you can see it working very well, exactly how I wanted it. So these are the things you could do. You don't have to do the way I did it. You could just have bookmarks in the bookmarks, the way, bookmarks bar, if that's your preference. But alternatively, you can also do this through Gmail. So you have all your bookmarks here in Gmail. And then if you're spending a lot of time in Gmail, then it makes a lot of sense to have it all in one place. You don't have to be jumping in and out. And if you do that, then you can also get rid of the bookmarks bar. If you're not using it for this last thing I showed you, you can get rid of it to have a little bit more space on your screen. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of additional space, but hey, any additional real estate is always welcome. So that's something you could do. Plus, you can get rid of all these other bookmarks potentially and just have them all available here through this Gmail interface. Okay? So that's how you can do bookmarks in Gmail. But the reason, going back to the Epiphany concept, is what I really want to talk about here is, as I was thinking, I was playing around with this web clipper and being able to set web pages to Gmail and then being able to easily find them, because remember, you can find them by doing a search. It's just like an email. So if I go back to here and I do type in something like social media marketing or something like that, it'll come up with that email that I saved with a bunch of other emails too that have nothing to do with the web. So that gave me the idea that this is going to be really useful, potentially, if I keep doing the saving of these pages I care about and not having this horrid, huge row of all these bookmarks, not bookmarks, but all these tabs of web pages and zillion bookmarks and everything else. What I'm opening up in Gmail is ability to do a search not only among my emails, but also among web pages, because it stores as much of a web page as it can. It doesn't always do a perfect job. For the most part, it does a great job. As you can see, a ton of content there. And so that gave me an idea that Gmail has very good search. So you can look through your emails doing search all kinds of different ways. Special commands you can use, like show me emails after a certain date, show me emails from this particular person, show me emails that have something like this in the subject line. There's a bunch of different additional operators you can use in the search string here to be able to find things you're looking for, or with specific labels, for example. But the beauty here is, if you think about it, when you actually do research or searching for information, where do you normally go to? I had a video I posted a while back talking about Gmail being as a database. I called it Gmail as your basically database. And what I meant by that is, I meant that without setting up database and knowing how to do any of that stuff, you already have a wealth of information you're keeping in your email, because you don't have to really delete any emails. And so the stuff that you want to keep, you keep. The stuff you don't, you delete. But the search allows you to find information throughout all of this stuff that you've saved. So it's a huge and very useful knowledge base of information that's relevant to you. So I would call it personal knowledge base, if you will. Okay? But it's nothing but emails. It's stuff that people sent you, or something you sent to yourself at different points in time. And it's all available to you from this one interface with this search capability, which is pretty cool, considering this is what Google does, and it's their thing. So they do a pretty good job with that. But when you do the research or search for information, where else do you go? Why do I have all these tabs? Because we normally have a lot of stuff we find on Google. And of course, we don't really find anything on Google. Google is nothing but pointers to information. It's not that people say Google it. That doesn't mean that when you Google it, Google will show you the info. They can show you some info, but usually it's fairly small, and that's not their job. Their job is to point you, this is where you need to go to get the info you're looking for. And you have a list of all these links, of all these websites. So the information itself that you're looking for is stored on various websites out there, right? So we already stated that we already get a bunch of emails that are relevant to us personally, on personal basis or business basis. Doesn't matter, but they're important to us, and that's what our Gmail account is. It's information important to us that comes to us via email. But what about the stuff we do on the web? Because we do a lot of searching and looking and finding things that we need on the web too, and it kind of gets lost unless we put in a zillion different bookmarks and then remember how to get to it, right? So what I was thinking was, since we're able to grab that information from the web and put it in Gmail in a fairly, well, not fairly, basically all the information is there. We got all this text information. For example, there is, let's say there is a thing that's called behind the scenes glimpses, right there. So let's say that this is a piece of text we have in this email that we grabbed from that particular article. So if we're sitting on any other email, doesn't matter where we're sitting, and we do a search for that particular term, guess what? It's going to find it right there. I mean, the first thing it comes back with, it's right here. This particular string I was searching for is part of this particular article, and of course I can find it right within my Gmail. So now, in other words, the epiphany part was that now I can get all this information that we have on the web that we're looking for, and we can move it easily through the web clipper into Gmail. And then when we do search on Gmail, we will find everything we need to find that's important, relevant to us, directly from within Gmail. Because now we have the best of both worlds. We have information that came to us via Gmail, emails, and we also have now the information that we saved from the web of pages that are important, relevant to us, with all the content in place there. So you have this single search capability, and you're basically amassing or curating this massive amount of information that's relevant to you personally. And of course, then you can use it as much as you want or as little as you want, and you just continue to do the same thing. And it's simple because you saw me doing it. I mean, it's not anything complex. Let me make myself a little smaller here. Put myself to the side. Again, to reiterate, in case somebody's joining us late, I go to a page. We already did this page, so let's get rid of it. Let's say I go to this page here, and this page has to do with, let's see, VS Code, which is something I'm using these days for development. So let's say I go ahead and say, okay, let's save this page. I simply click on the little web clipper icon. I click on Save to Gmail. I go back to it in Gmail by clicking View in Gmail. I hit letter L. It says, what label do you want to give it? I'm going to give it a label called VS Code. I'm going to create a new label, and I'm going to stick it under the Gmail Web Clipper category. Create, and that's it. I'm done. Okay? So now, that particular article I was looking at, this one, I can go ahead and just close the tab and free up my tabs, free up my memory. I don't know what happened here. See what happens when you have memory, things die in the browser. And that's it. And now I have it available to me. It's nicely stored. It's categorized accordingly. Right there, I got something called VS Code right there. And now when I search for, let's find something that's unique here. I don't know, files that auto-save. Yeah, whatever. If I'm searching, if I'm sitting on any email, doesn't matter where I'm at, searching on some email here, and like I said, it doesn't really matter. I just do a search for a particular set of words or values, it's going to come right up. So you just do a simple search, information is in front of your fingertips. So again, we went in with the concept of pulling information from the web, moving into Gmail, so then we can go ahead and search for both Gmail content and web content that's important to us, available to us in this one single place that's easily searchable and easily digestible. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. I think it's if you really think about it, it's a very powerful and very simple to implement concept, and could have major amount of impact on the efficiency, especially if you do a lot of searching and looking for information on the web. It will definitely make it much more efficient that way, because once you get done, then it's all stored right there, and again, you're doing it from a single kind of place. You're just sitting in Gmail doing searches, and you have access to all this information. So I think it's pretty useful and pretty credible and pretty potent. Before I finish today, I just wanted to also add that you can select portion of the web page by highlighting it with your cursor, and then when you save using the web clipper, it's going to only save that part of the page. And that could be useful in certain cases. It's just if you're trying to do a complete text search on everything on the page, then obviously having the whole page would be most likely better. But you do have that choice. I hope you find this Gmail knowledge of personal information approach useful. I certainly think I'm going to be using it a lot for just about everything going forward, and eliminate all my tabs from my browser, and most likely kill all my bookmarks. Again, if you have any questions, please contact PCS. We're on MeWe. That's probably the best place to find us, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And if you are a business in need of IT services or internet services, also you can contact us, and we'll be happy to help you. Take care.